Welcome, everyone. We are here again for another talk with a contributor of the book Surviving My First Year of Child Loss. And here today with me is Julia. Welcome, Julia.
Hi, Natalie. Thank you for inviting me for this interview.
Thank you for being here. And so, would you like to start by just giving those people who are listening a little bit of a summary of your loss story so that people who might not have read the book, who might not know your story, get an idea?
Yeah, of course. So starting off, my name is Julia and I currently live in Vienna, Austria. I'm 37 years old and in December 2013, so a little bit more than 4 years ago, I lost my first and so far only child, my daughter Luisa, through the consequences of birth complications. So she had trapped her umbilical cord during labor, and I had an emergency C-section. She was resuscitated and lived for 9 days, but unfortunately she was brain dead, and so we had to take her off life support. It was really unexpected because I had a picture perfect pregnancy. And so this was an absolute shock. And what added to the difficulty of this entire situation was that her husband and I had already split up during the pregnancy. And in the months after she died, she was also really a support for me. So I was very alone, even though my family tried to help. I lived in Germany at the time, and parents and sisters in Austria, so it was really, really hard and difficult.
Yeah. So in your story, it becomes apparent that you, at the time when you had Louisa and she then passed away 9 days later, you were not only sort of grieving the loss of your child, but also grieving the loss of your relationship and the dissolution of that hope and dream of a family.
Yeah, as I already mentioned in the essay, I had secretly hoped that our child would bring us back together. It was a really very difficult story we had, and of course now I see it differently. Now I know that he is not the person I was supposed to be with, but the difficulty that came along with being single after the loss is that I was so longing for a baby. Of course, I was longing for Luisa, but I met other lost moms, and when I saw that they had a pregnancy after loss with all the difficulties, but finally when they had a healthy child in their hand, it helped them. And and so far, I mean, it has been like more than 4 years now. I will have the anniversary of knowing that I was pregnant in about 2 weeks. So that will be 5 years then, and that's really a long time. And
Yeah. And so, Julia, you haven't only written an essay, but we were also instrumental in translating the English edition into German. And that was approximately about a year later after writing your essay. So given that it's now 4+ years since the loss of your daughter, and the writing of the essay was a little bit more than a year ago, and then you did the translation, if you want to give us a little bit of an insight into what has happened, what has changed for you over those years?
Yeah, so I would say the first 1.5 or 2 years were really hard for me, and I had to do a lot to survive. So psychotherapy and all sorts of things, acupuncture, and that's also what I mentioned in my essay. And when I went back to my essay to translate it, I saw that all these methods were really something that helped me. For me, it was around the time when I wrote the essay. I had just returned to Austria to live there because it was a big step, and I had known that I would only be able to make this once I had sort of strength to do that, to find a job and to relocate, because it's a big thing. And this was the time when I wrote the essay, and I was really very optimistic about this new start. I was very hopeful, And at the time, the only really still big was that I don't have a living child, and that what's missing for that is also a partner, because after what I experienced with Luca's father, I was just a very long time not ready for a relationship. And while I was doing the translation work, so around last summer and fall, I realized that slowly that I'm opening up to that idea. It still hasn't happened, but I mean, you can't just doesn't happen every day. You meet the person you're supposed to be with, but I'm just hopeful, and I just feel that I don't block people out, or I don't, especially men. I was surrounded by women all the time, hardly any men. So because I was really distrustful, now it's really getting better.
Yeah. So you mentioned psychotherapy, you mentioned acupuncture. Now, given your time that has passed since then, if you would look back, what of the things you have done would you see has helped the most, or has made the most impact for you in your healing?
Yeah, alongside the psychotherapy, for me, the biggest help was exchange with other lost moms. So the connection, I was lucky enough to have personal contact really soon after Louisa passed with the anti-grave group Frankfurt. I described my sick, and that has really helped a lot, because nobody else can understand you in a way other foster parents can do that. And like 1 year and a half after I lost Louisa, I had also a yoga retreat for lost moms in Canada. This is where I learned about your first book, and they sort of opened my eyes on social media, because in certain speaking area, social media, the lost topic is not so big. But I mean, the States and the UK and Canada, this is such a huge group, they share a language. And it also helped me a lot to read the internet about the stories and share. And yeah, this was maybe the key to my healing.
Yeah. You mentioned the social media, and I mean, I would agree to you that is one of the things that members of the community of Grieving Parent Support Network get a lot of benefit out of, talking to people and networking with people who understand, who don't question their speed of healing or at all whether they heal, and you can speak about what's going on and people nod their head. And so that is really something to encourage. And for anyone who's watching this, if you're looking for an online group, we have a group called May We All Heal. It's just an online peer support group on Facebook, which you're free to join free of charge. Now, for you, Julia, you actually read all the pieces and worked a lot with all the pieces of the book. So I think me as the editor, having someone else who's got so in-depth knowledge of every person's story, what has transpired for you when you were reading and translating all the different pieces from the book?
Yeah, first of all, it was really an interesting process for me, because, as you said, I worked closely with text, and it was for me really also a gift to be allowed to do that, and to give them new books in German. And when I read them in depth and dealt with like every word, I thought, if I was a new lost parent, very new in this situation, I would be able to take out something from every single essay. Mm-hmm. So many ideas what you can do, and so many situations you have to face, and that you just see, okay, tap to that as well, and she did that, and she did that, and that was really. That's really interesting, because I mean we all had the image of, I can't remember, like 1,500 words, and you can't put everything in what you think and what you experience and what you want to give others. But this essence, everyone will give. It's really, it's very, it's a broad spectrum you get offered, and I'm sure that for everyone there's something in it.
And I think what I've realized today when I was talking to a client is not just for people who are maybe bereaved parents, but also for people who are supporting them to really understand what is going on for people. What does it mean to work through grief? I mean, there are 26 essays and 26 different perspectives on how they did that and what they were challenged with. It gives a really in-depth insight into what we as lost parents go through and have to go through. It's like a work that you don't choose, you don't get paid, and no one's actually thanking you for it either.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that, because I think if people who deal with lost parents, and I also experienced a lot of misunderstanding or not lack of compassion. And I think if they read that other people grieve the same way or are as slow as like I was, maybe the compassion and the understanding is just growing, and this would be like really important.
Yeah. Because we all know because we know the support that parents receive, and the understanding is impossible to experience, like what the support actually means. And so it is so important. It's utterly important. So from your experience, is there anything that, looking back over the last 4 years, of the things that you did or didn't do, or that you've read in the other essays, is there any other thing that you would do more of or less of, or that you would suggest to people who are in the situation a little bit earlier on? Is there any words of advice you would give them?
What I did in the first year, I tried to fit in, and regarding the topic babies. So, for example, when my elder half brother had his first child, I went there and to visit the baby when she was like 2 weeks old. And my psychotherapist at the time, she said, "No, please don't do that. That's re-traumatization. That's not for you." And I did it because I thought what is expected from me, and I have to do that. And also the topic going back to work and like functioning on this level, it was So I would give, today I know that I would have needed more time for different things. So especially keeping a healthy distance to pregnant women, to babies, and the work thing. I mean, I had no option. I had to go back to work because I wouldn't have had any money because I was in a strange contract situation. But it was really, it was difficult decision, and I had to do it. But it was much too early, and it cost so much strength. And so if somehow possible that you can stay at home for a long time, I can only recommend. So because I went back after not even 4 months. It's not.
So with the story that you were talking about, your half-brother's child, I'm not sure if I heard that, but would you looking back, would you recommend to another parent not to do it?
Yeah, not to do it. Because in general, it's friends or relatives or whoever, they have to respect that it's just not the right thing for me as a freshly bereaved parent to go there and to hold the baby and to say, "Oh, it's so nice," because you just feel pain, you feel jealous, and you need then, after such an encounter, you need again some time to recover. So I needed a few days to be stable again, and that's just yeah, at that time you have so little strength, so it's the wrong thing maybe to do it. But it's for everyone, it's different, and of course it depends on the situation. And but with babies and with pregnant women, anyway, you see them so very often on the streets and in the supermarket and everywhere. So for me, it would have been healthy to at least have the choice to keep my distance.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely one of the biggest triggers for grieving parents to be in close contact with babies. If they have lost a small child, I mean, we have to sort of put that into context of the loss. Yeah, and for people who have lost maybe a teenager, then that might be triggering to see the other teenagers in the same school.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Julia, for being here with us today and responding to those kind of things that have happened in the last year, and also for the translation. If you have any questions for Julia, you're welcome to write them underneath this video and we'll come back to answering to them. And if you want to purchase the book, it is available on the shop. You can find it through grievingparents.net. We've got all the books listed there, so you're welcome to find out a little bit more about Julia and all the other 25 contributors of the book. Thank you so much, and thank you for all the people watching. Thank you for being here, Julia, today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.